Hello and welcome back to From the BON, the Burnley podcast. I'm Simon Evans. Good to be back with you. And with me today is Darren Bentley and Chris Bowden. And we're going to be looking back a little bit at that Millwall FA Cup tie over the weekend, talking a bit about the draw as well, Mansfield to come. And we've got a preview of the Liverpool game coming up later this week, but we might just touch on a few things about that. Obviously, transfer window is open, things going on as well. Chris, you were on the turf on Saturday. A 5-1 win. It was a second-string Burnley side, a second-string Millwall side. Should we read too much into that game?
Probably not, but it was just a really pleasing, it lifted the mood somewhat. It was, really enjoyable afternoon's work. I thought we played some super, so it was like exhibition stuff at times. I'm disappointed we didn't score more, and I'm disappointed they nicked one at the end, but I just thought that it was just really encouraging the way we popped the ball around, and I'd say it was just exhibition stuff at times. But I'd say we made 8 changes, which shows the depth of our squad, and they made 5, which I suppose it shows the gulf between a team chasing the playoffs in the championship, and they make 5 changes, and they were absolutely weak as anything.
Yeah,
and, but I say you look at the changes we've made. How many are going to start at Anfield, and how many should start at Anfield? I suppose we'll get onto that in a moment. But there's some really good performances, and that's it. Just lifted the clouds for a few days at least, didn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a much-needed morale boost, wasn't it? Because the last thing you want is to go out in that game and add to the misery. I mean, Daz, it'll give a little bit of a boost, I suppose, but then it's quickly back down to earth when they start preparing for a game against Liverpool.
Yeah, but it releases that release valve a little bit, doesn't it? It just makes everybody feel a whole lot better about life, and you can only beat what's in front of you. Whatever the cup draw throws up, you can only beat in front of you. I was more bothered with the sort of the vagaries of the cup again this week, and that just this scattergun approach of fixtures at ridiculous times and over 4 days, and the cup draws on TNT on a Monday at 6:30, and it's just like, I know it's been mentioned lots of times, but the cup's just not what it was anymore, is it? And then the attendance at the turf probably backed that up. 6,500 was it, I think, on the turf. So they might
more
be
than I thought they'd be, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought that. I thought it might be 4,000 or 5,000 on, to be fair. I mean, they might get more on against Mansfield though in the next round, because there's that little carrot of the last 16 place up for grabs. So, but yeah, listen, you need a win. People need wins just to keep them ticking along, don't they? And you never know. You go to Liverpool and you just never know. They're not the Liverpool that everybody's been clamouring about for 12 months ago, were they? Barnsley went there on Wednesday night or Monday night. I've forgotten now we're on now. Barnsley went, this is the cup for you. Barnsley went there and hit the post after 30 seconds, scored a goal, by all attempts. I didn't see the game, but by all accounts in the first half, gave a good display. You never know, do you? If we can, and I suppose here's a caveat, we have to keep it tight at the back. And we're not very good at doing that. But what I will say is the Bashir Humphreys back in there now, I think makes that defence a bit tighter. So we go there with a win behind us, chest puffed out, shoulders back, give it your best shot.
Chris, I mean, in terms of the performances on Saturday, I mean, it is a chance for players coming in who aren't featuring. Who took their chances, do you think? Obviously, Ashley Barnes scoring 2 goals was the main sort of headline of it. But beyond that, and we'll get on to Barnes a little bit later, but beyond that, who caught your eye? Who took their moment?
There's a few, obviously. At the moment, Kyle Walker's, not maintaining his very high standards, I don't think. So, but will Parker select Son ahead of him? I thought you could sort of see the improvement in Son over the last 12 months, and he looks to have he's used this time. He's had he's been dipped in and out, but over the last year from his his debut. He came on against Sunderland and gave a penalty away, and he had a couple of run outs in the FA Cup, and looked a little shaky on occasion. But he got his goal the other week against Fulham, and he looks the part to me. He looks like I thought he defended well. He put in some super tackles, and he linked well with Chowner down the right hand side. He's a threat going forward. It's just I think, like I say, it's just this modern day fullback thing. Can he be, can he do the day job and defend well? And I say, albeit against a Millwall side who were, they offered, next to nothing. But he can be pleased with his performance. But I say, I mean, Barnes, he's not going to start Barnsley, but it was just magic to see. It was like, just a masterclass. Any young lad or any young teammate watching it and thinking, this is how you play in a professional manner. He's forever pointing and cajoling and just like an on-field coach, if you will. He took his goals well, and it was the real shame that he didn't get his first career hat trick because it would have, it was a super way to. I think we're probably nearing the end, aren't we, of his Burnley time, and it just would have been a lovely one for the fans to see. But, yeah, you can go across. Anthony again built on his goal against Man United. His first touch was immaculate all afternoon. He's a couple of assists. You got another goal there, well taken goal. So maybe he's knocking on the door.
Yeah. No, I agree with you about Son. I thought he looked very composed on the ball as well. That's one of the things that I like about him. He looks comfortable in possession. And he's got a good engine on him, hasn't he? He gets up and down that line pretty well. I mean, I do wonder. I can't see him leaving Kyle Walker out of the side. I mean, even if he has had a shaky-ish spell by his standards, but you do wonder if there isn't an option there that you could play Kyle Walker. If he's playing a back three, you could play him on the right side of it and play Son at right back, couldn't you? If he was that way inclined. I mean, Walker has played in that central defensive role before, but I agree. I thought Son looked good. Daz,
you look at Son now. Look at Son, who he's learning from Kyle Walker. I always thought he was a pretty solid performer. The limited opportunities we've had to see him, I always thought he was pretty solid. But you're learning, you're behind Kyle Walker. You can only learn good things from Kyle Walker. And with a bit of luck, he could be the Burnley fullback for years to come. Don't forget, we've still got Connor Roberts to come back as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sam. It'd be rude of me not to mention Brun Larson as well, who I thought was excellent. Again, technically very good. But again, it shows the gulf. In the Premier League, he looks so slow, and but against half a Championship promotion pushing side, he looked an absolute cut above. And I was speaking to someone over Christmas who went out to do a feature at Borussia Dortmund a few years ago, and he was their bright hope. There was like this young Danish starlet that they very, very high hopes for, and it's not quite happened for him. But you could see him in that position where he was sort of like a false nine at times. He was a 10. He was popping up wide, but you could see what a good technician, what a super football brain he's got. But is it effective enough at the elite level?
Well, you touched on that there. I mean, that was the most interesting thing about his performance was he was much more in central areas than he's ever been. He's always been working up and down the flank, hasn't he? I mean, that's another thing to sort of consider, isn't it? That he clearly showed that he can operate in other areas of the field.
We've struggled from wide this season, haven't we? But Jacob Brun Larsen's best position for me is still out left. But touching on the left-hand side, and something Chris said there about Jayden Anthony, I think we all realise and know by now Jayden Anthony is a confidence player, and he's been woefully low on confidence. Some of the abuse meted out to him, by the way, online and even on the ground sometimes has been a bit over the top, I think. He's just been a lad who's just needed a break, who's just not been informed. But a couple of goals and a couple of good performances, and hopefully we get to see the Jayden Anthony we've seen before and that's in there, because there's definitely a player in there. I know Chris is a fan as well. I'm a fan, but he's just been he's been really below par this season, but hopefully that can kick him on.
Yeah, and a boost for Scott Parker as well, Chris. I mean, I've been away for the last couple of weeks watching cricket in Australia, but I did manage to keep up with the pod a little bit, and saw the episode where people were suggesting he might be on his way or should be on his way or so. And it hasn't happened, has it? He's got that win under his belt. He's taking us to Liverpool at the weekend. Do you think that's it now? Do you think we've got into this part of January now and they're not going to pull the trigger, or and he's safe?
Well, like I say, I think we're sort of on the back of the United game where it's not to be sniffed at a point against Manchester United, but it was neither here nor there in the end. It's not sort of dragged us out of trouble. It didn't end the run, and you still sort of the dissenting voices, if you will. I thought on another day, I thought Saturday might have finished him off if we'd have got beat by Millwall. So I really, I really thought that would be a sticky fixture. And, as it turned out into an absolute walk in the park. But it's one of those. He's got an awful lot to do if he wants to turn round. This section of Burnley fans who I think we're sort of. I was sort of saying it. I was speaking to a friend of mine last week. I say that, but your expectations going into Premier League games now, especially on the back of that, the Brighton performance, is a 0-0 the best we can hope for every week, and then you're almost waiting for the inevitable of us dropping behind. And United, we managed to get as noses in front, but we're still shit 30 odd shots on target, and Sesko had 7 of them. They've hit the woodwork, had 2 off the line, had a perfectly good goal disallowed as well. And people saying we defended well. Well, did we? We didn't create a great deal going forward either. So there's still this. I think there's still this sort of hesitancy to we haven't turned any corner or anything like that, and it's going to take a hell of a turnaround for the Burnley fans to get back behind him. I think.
I think we have to say he's had a great week. He's had a good week. Draw against Man United, beating Millwall in the Cup, he's had a good week. But you got Liverpool, Tottenham, Spurs next 3 on the back of a horrendous run of results. So he's still very much on thin ice, I think. But by the time you get to that Sunderland game, you're into February and the window's gone. So if you're then going to pull the plug on a manager in February, you've missed that opportunity of the window. So I think
sounds like they're not going to do a great deal anyway, does it?
No, it sounds to me like we're just committed to what we've got and take it to the end of the season and see where it goes. But what he has to do, I think he has to do, is take the handbrake off. He has to take that 5 at the back away, get a more creative player on the pitch. We've said this for weeks, and Edwards has to play every week, but you've got to get that. Goals are going to keep us up. Clean sheets are never going to keep us up because we're not going to get them. Goals are the only thing that's going to keep us up. And to do that, we need more attacking players on the pitch.
That fluidity we saw. I mean, I say albeit against inferior opposition, but I loved the sort of fluidity we played with, where, like Chowner was popping up in the middle. Brun Larson, Barnes is dropping into midfield. Chowner's left, Chowner's right, Anthony's here, there and everywhere. Brun Larson. Let's have that fluidity. Let's cause teams a problem. Throw a blanket on Burnley and roughly where we're going to be because it's fairly rigid.
Unpredictability.
Talking about, like, say we do stick with Parker and, we maybe do a couple of cosmetic changes in the window. If we go into this summer and we've been relegated and form's not been great, you end up in that Brian Law scenario again. Brian Law's had us in touching distance with the playoffs when he was sacked, but Burnley fans just weren't having him, and if they're not having you, it's an uphill task, isn't it? I think once the fans have said, "Nah, we've had enough," it's the beginning of the end.
Long way back in it.
I think he either keeps us up, or there's a serious decision. Even though we all know Scott Parker's ever so good at, he's got a perfect record in the Championship. It's 3 promotions from 3 seasons.
Yeah, but there hasn't been a move, has there? That's my point was, if you were going to sack Scott Parker, you would have surely done it after that Brighton game.
Yeah.
And Carrick's gone. Carrick's gone now. So.
And there's not even any rumours of it or murmurs of it, is it? You'd normally hear a little bit of something on the grapevine from one of the, in-the-know journalists, but it's all very quiet, which makes me think that they're just going to happy to stick with him.
Someone had mentioned O'Neill the other week, hadn't they? And now he's ended up at Strasbourg, hasn't he? So that one's off the menu at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just going back to Ashley Barnes, because, and I know you said he's not going to start against Liverpool, right? And he's, how old is he now? 36, is he?
36.
Scored a winner
Yeah.
there a few years ago, you know. Scored a winner at Anfield.
Yeah. Well-remembered goal. There is still a question, though. He's come in, he's scored 2 goals. He's made the players around him play well. I'm not suggesting he starts, but Lyle Foster is back from AFCON. Obviously, there's Fleming there and Breuer as well. But does he get a place on the bench after scoring 2 goals, Chris? Does he get a sniff ahead of perhaps Lyle Foster?
I don't know whether he'll get in ahead of Lyle even, but I mean, obviously, I think Breuer starts because he'll. I'd like to think, he can do the things that Van Dijk doesn't like, to drive at him in possession, to have that physicality where usually he just ragdolls centre forwards, doesn't he? But Breuer's a bit more of a, more physical proposition as well. But no, I think he's hard done to if he's not in the 20, isn't he? After it was an immaculate performance. I thought everything he did, his layoffs. Like I say, he won the ball back. He took his goals well, and he could have had more. But it's what he gives everyone else around him as well. You can see that You see all these little clips on social media, and who's the joker in the pack? Oh, it's Barnesy. Who would who do you want to be sat next to on the bus? Blah blah. Barnesy. He's just a super character, and you want him. I mean, this is why he's been with us for the last 12 months or so. We sort of, maybe a bit harsh, sort of saying that he just brings vibes, but he is that sort of, he's that experienced head, but he's more than that. He'll lift the spirits of everyone. He'll drive everyone on when things are getting tough as well. And I sincerely hope there's a place for him on the coaching staff at some stage as well, if that's his ambition. But why not? Why not? So you go with Lyle as well. You want some game changes, especially if Fleming's not fit.
You need goals. Goals keep you up. You need strikers. Irrespective of his age, he's got to be on the bench for me.
Yeah, I mean, he occupies the centre halves, doesn't he? In a way that other players can benefit from. Like you say, his laying off is decent, but he's a pain in the arse for defenders to mark and deal with, and not just because of his shithousery that he's famed for, but he actually does get into awkward positions, and he got. Both those goals, especially the first one. The first one is a good finish, and it's all about the positioning, isn't it? He's got right in there in the right position. I mean, Foster's back. I mean, Daz, you were having a look at some of the numbers. I mean, you compare Lyle Foster's record over his time at Burnley, and I'm looking at Wikipedia's version here. 77 appearances, 10 goals. So that's a goal nearly every 8 games from Lyle Foster. Whereas in that same period, Ashley Barnes is basically a goal every other game. I mean, Foster's goal scoring record is shocking, really, isn't it?
Well, he's South Africa's #1 pick, which tells you probably a lot about South Africa's squad at the minute. I've never been a massive fan. Lyle Foster has his strengths, and his strengths is on the shoulder of the last defender, balls played into him, and he's not the worst finisher in the world. But he rarely gets those opportunities at Burnley. And what I'm saying there is it's not all his fault, because he's not really getting 2 and 3 shots a game away most of the time. He does a lot of his work deep, in fact. But more to the fact that we've said this before, we've been down that road with Lyle Foster. We know what he is and what he isn't, and what he isn't is a goal scorer. And what Barnesy is a goal scorer. Barnes isn't going to do all your donkey work. I mean, in his youth, he was great at holding the ball up and laying it off. That's probably not going to be his strength now. If you're going to stick him on, you're going to stick him in a penalty box and say, elbow a few defenders, try and win a few headers, pick up a few loose balls, like he did the first goal on Saturday. Superb movement and finishing. So it's hard to compare the two because of the age difference. But, if you're in the trenches, who would you want, Lyle Foster, or would you want Ashley Barnes? I'd be taking the guy who needs a hair restorer.
Needs the clippers.
I mean, Chris, that centre forward position, we spent all all the pre-season on this podcast saying we need to sign a centre forward, we need to sign a centre forward. Obviously, we did bring Breuer in, but if we're going to do anything in the transfer window, do you think it would be, and if we're not spending money, maybe we're looking in the loan market? Do you think it would still be centre forward we'd be looking at, or are we looking in more in the midfield area or even at the back?
Well, I mean, even in the midfield area, your Florentino and Ugo Chukwu, Hannibal, who came on both games since he's been back. Laurent can play in there as well. Do you need another body there? Maybe. Do you need another? We've got bodies in terms of centre halves. Do we need a better centre half? Fullbacks. Again, it all depends on what happens with Hartman as well. I mean, he's been reintegrated and did all right on Saturday. Are we going to get a game changer? Unless you got I don't know what Callum Wilson's doing. I don't know why West Ham have got shut of him. To be honest, it seems a bizarre decision to me. But can we persuade him to come for 6 months and sort of, he might be one of them that comes off the bench and nicks you a few goals, that sort of thing. But it's Browyer's the future, isn't he? I think even if we get relegated, I think Breuer stays put, and I think he'll have a very, very good season in the Championship, with the sort of season we thought Foster would have in the Championship, where his goals just did not happen, did they? But Andy, he'll nick you a goal or two here and there. I think his days of getting double figures at this level are long gone. I think his days of troubling people like Van Dijk, I think Van Dijk can swat him away, to be honest with you, looking at Saturday. But I say there's been a lot of people sort of sticking up for Foster, saying, well, if Parker would only play him in his rightful position, you think, well, how often he's played most of the time down the middle? How often has he played wide left, wide right? I'd like to see the stats, but I would, from the top of my head, I would say he's predominantly played down the middle. But I say, I'm looking at those figures today and thinking, well, players who popped up in wide positions, you go back to someone like Ian Moore, who was brought in as a forward, Burnley's first £1 million footballer, who ended up playing a lot of his football left-hand side, right-hand side, and still finished as a 1-in-4 man, but was criticised for being a 1-in-4 man. As you say, Foster's a 1-in-8 man. It's just, I don't know. I just don't see a future for him at Burnley. He's been there. We've tried it, and it don't work. And I think a parting of the ways would probably be good for all concerned in the summer.
I mean, what slightly concerns me, sort of coming back from this little break and looking at stuff, is like, okay, the situation in the league table speaks for itself. We're in big trouble. Clear favourites to go down. But if you're not going to change the manager and you're not going to do anything in the transfer window, it starts to look like the club is just sort of, the ownership of the club is just sort of accepting that we're going down and we'll do it again, and that this is now the normal for Burnley, that we go up and come back down. I mean, shouldn't we be doing something, Daz? At least trying to.
I go back to the chairman's comments that they're going to do everything they can in their power to keep Burnley in the Premier League. Not at the minute. There's nothing really happening. Now, that's not to say there's nothing happening behind the scenes, but you can't see Burnley going and spending £20-30 million in this window. If they're going to bring anybody in, you imagine it might even be loans or one reasonably priced signing. Are they going to then make the difference? You're talking then loans of players who other teams aren't necessarily bothered about. Game changers is what Chris said. You're not going to get game changers in January unless you pay money, and you're paying extortionate prices. So it's a tricky one. I don't know where it's going. As always, it'll go to the last minute, because it always does. Because unless you've got lots of money to stick on the table, you can't get deals done quickly. There's a lot of brinksmanship goes on at this time of year. But you can't say we're going to do everything in our power to stay up and then sit on your hands and do nothing. So I'm expecting something to happen, and it looks increasingly like it's not going to be the manager. So the only tools you've got left in your armoury then are new players. And that might probably mean shipping a few out, by the way, as well, because they probably look to get a few out.
I mean, they could also do what they did 2 years ago, and they took Esteve on with a view, didn't they? And took Assignon. Assignon came in on loan, and obviously, he didn't make that permanent. But they both, I thought, made a very good contribution second half of the season, and came in on loan. So maybe that's an area, a foreign loan market. But that's it. We need a forward. There's speculation against Sargent, but I mean, they're talking about, is it Toronto offering 15, 16 million pounds for Josh Sargent? Are we going to match that? Would he want to come here? Would he want to come here? Because he knows, probably looks at the table and thinks, well, it's a lost cause, isn't it?
It's an interesting one, because I was talking to a mate of mine who said, and I said, we're going to miss Cullen badly in the second half of the season, so there's a natural sort of replacement needed for me. And he kind of said, I don't know whether we'll miss him or not, because he slows us down a lot. And I kind of saw what he got. I kind of see where he's going with that, but that now means that Flotorino has got to pick up in midfield alongside Ogachukwu and probably Josh Laurent. We've got that midfield axis now. It's got to dig in and start really putting the shift in, hasn't it? So
I think they've done all right. Since Cullen picked up his injury.
Yeah,
the one thing,
absolutely. That's where the conversation came from.
Oh yeah, but there was a stat the other day that suggests, I think, just looking at patterns of play and through balls and something like that. I mean, and apparently Cullen's like our main provider of through balls, and we've had as many through balls as we had under Company 2 years ago. So everyone sort of thinks we were this sort of incisive, passive football team, but we are doing as much of that, if not more, under Parker in the Premier League, which was just a surprise again. Just going using your eyes, not looking at the stats. So you're taking that out of the equation as well. You look at you think of the pass he picked against Fulham for Ugochukwu's goal and things like that. About either of those going to provide that for us.
Well, yeah, that's the killer, I suppose.
Finally, last thing, obviously the draw thrown up Mansfield Town at home again. It's been a while since we haven't had Manchester City in an FA Cup, isn't it? I was watching that draw yesterday and thinking, like, we're going to end up with City away here, aren't we? But it does open up a little bit of a possibility that we might have something to cheer about towards the end of the season. If we could have a little cup run, I mean, it's not a bad one, that, is it, Daz? Mansfield Town?
No,
like that?
It's a perfect draw if you take out. I mean, I was looking at Burton and Macclesfield as the two, but that'll do nicely for me. I mean, you've got I don't want to say free pass, because I remember Lincoln City all too well.
Yeah.
But you've got a real sort of opportunity there of cementing your place in the last 16 of the Cup. There's a couple of old Championship ties in there. There might be a couple of surprises in the next round. So there might be a few clubs in there that you can pull out in the last 16, and suddenly you're in the quarterfinals of the Cup. And you're a game away from Wembley. So, yeah, it is. In a miserable season, it's giving people a little bit of something to look forward to now in February, hasn't it? Love is in the air. It's Valentine's weekend. If we win that, blimey, we're into springtime. And we're still in the Cup. Don't get better than that, does it?
No, I mean, it would be good, wouldn't it, Chris? I mean, even if we accept that we're going down, if we could, you might be in a position where you only really need to pull off one or maybe two sort of surprise results.
If it falls nice
against Premier League opposition.
Yeah, well, like I say, I mean, you don't even have to get to the final. If Burnley Football Club got a semi-final in the FA Cup at Wembley Stadium, I mean, half of the town would be there, wouldn't it? It'd be a magic occasion. But it's drawing Mansfield made me laugh. I was reading Matt Scrafton's stuff online today, and he'd like, the last time we played Mansfield 22 years ago, and I can remember it well, Field Mill, comfortable afternoon. Moro, as I mentioned, got a couple of goals. And Stan said, you can fucking get fucked after the game. And I was like, what have I done?
I remember it.
Here? He's like, you fucking know well what you've done. None the wiser. But I was banned for the rest of the season. He'd taken offence at something I'd written in the build up to the game, and then when he left the club in the summer, he rang me up. He says, "Oh, nothing personal. Do you want to come round for your tea?" And that was it. Done and dusted. So.
Chris, the best thing about that was he didn't tell you to get fucked. He told you to fucking get fucked.
Yeah.
That was the best bit about it.
So you didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the time.
We need to get him on, don't we? We do need to get
Stan. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
we do need to get Stan on this podcast. We've had Dice and Jimmy Mullen. We need Stan on. Definitely. Brilliant. Well, we'll get working on that, and we'll be back later this week to talk a little bit more about the Liverpool game. But thanks for joining us. Until then, up the Clarets.